All right, welcome back to the JMach Podcast, where we're combating veteran and first responder suicide, one story, one conversation at a time, while reminding the community that they're not alone. We all have our struggles. Today, I'm sitting down with my brother whose journey spans with service from the 82nd Airborne, transitioning out of uniform, and now pouring back into the community through Glow Frame Veterans Initiative. He's a veteran, a creator, and a mentor to the next generation. Chris Grimsley, it's an honor to have you here, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. Pretty solid. Pretty chill.
All right. How are you actually doing today?
All right. It's a good question. I am actually super nervous. I am actually filled with a little bit of anxiety, a little unsure about what's about to happen next and how this is going. So
did you know that? Well, thank you for sharing. Did you know that anxiety and excitement run hand in hand? So it's up to you to choose which emotion you're going to have.
Let me choose real quick.
So
okay,
we're excited.
Now I'm excited.
To be here.
I'm excited to be here.
I'll answer for you.
Sweet.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me. I want to dive right into your story. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
Yeah. So my childhood, I grew up in the Bay Area, California. I'm one of 7 kids. And one of 7 kids. I've got 3 older brothers, 2 younger sisters, and a baby brother. I feel like it was like a pretty average life, I guess, for a kid like me. Single mother household. Grew up in the church. And it was pretty much like a childhood. Had a lot of support and family friends. All
right. Yeah. Looking back on your childhood and the family environment,
yeah.
What key experiences or influence helped shape you?
Key influences. So in my childhood, I gleaned to a lot of super awesome male role models. And it was pretty interesting, it was like I had a male role model for each kind of area of life, right? So I had a male role model who was like super into sports, so it would take me out and do like sporting events. I had one who was who was a hard worker, super hard worker, so that person would take me out and we'd mow lawns on weekends and stuff, so it was like out there sweating and mowing lawns. I had another individual who was a musician and would kind of really feed into me my love for music and kind of fan that flame that I had in me at that time. So it was super cool. I felt like I was able to glean a lot of really important aspects of who I am from the influence of those individuals. And all but one were all military veterans. So yeah.
It's amazing. You had some great mentorship. But before we dive into that, I really want to hear more about how you felt as a child of 7.
Oh, man. Okay, so I was a middle child. Any other middle children in here? Okay, all right. So you guys might feel my pain. You got beat up on and you got told on. That's pretty much it, all right? So you got bullied and then you got snitched on. That was our life. So what we tried to do was just kind of disappear a little bit, right? We tried to kind of not be, out there just trying to, exactly, dodging fists and dodging the snitches, so. So that was kind of my experience as a middle child.
How did it make you feel though? Did you feel neglected? Did you feel like your parents did a great job at sharing the love?
Yeah. So no, I never ever felt neglected. Honestly, it was the exact. I felt a lot of love growing up. Not just from my mom, who was who was a super hard worker, had multiple jobs all the time for as long as I've known. But again, from my community, my family, my aunts, my uncles. My brothers and sisters, we love each other too, but, don't get me wrong, but I felt really, really loved and I felt really cared for. I did know that we didn't have a lot, we weren't, the richest kids on the block, but I just never, ever needed anything. I never needed a meal. I never needed a place to stay. I always knew I was safe, those kind of things, so.
That's amazing. And with that foundation, and you talked about the mentors and all the support you had, and all your mentors were veterans. Is that what led you to joining the military?
Man, yes, it was part of it. A lot of even you answering questions for you right now is there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into I call it data. There's a lot of data that goes into those decisions, but that was a big part of it. One, the other one is I was just trying to get out of the Bay Area without any questions asked. I'm from Vallejo, California. And wasn't really much going on, when I was in high school and getting out of high school, and I was just what's going to get me out of this area as fast with the least amount of questions? Oh, I think I'll sign up for the military.
And what led you to the Army?
Oh, okay, that's a good story. I think So I was supposed to go join the Navy. All right. All right. I was supposed to join the Navy. I went to the recruiter's office, and I said I was in Naval Junior ROTC, NJ ROTC in high school, and of course it was just like I knew all the all the ranks, and I knew all everything about the Navy from NJ ROTC. So I was like, all right, let me go to the recruiter's office and start this process into joining the Navy. So I get there, we sat down, had a nice conversation, and I thought I was going to be in the Navy. I step outside, and there was an Army recruiter outside, leaning on the like on a railing. And he was like, you want to tell me what the Navy's like? You want me to tell you what the Navy's like? And I was like, sure. He was like, well, fill your bathtub up and sit in it for 6 months. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty funny. And I was like, where do I sign? You know what I mean? So that was kind of like my pivot from the Navy to the Army, that interaction I had with that drill sergeant.
And those
Or that recruiter, sorry.
Those mentors, did they influence you at all to join their branch?
Nah, not really, because there were like one was from the Navy, one was from the Army, one was from the Air Force. So that's probably what made sure I didn't join the Marine Corps.
Oh man,
Oh,
you're
sorry.
missing out.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's why I'm in this seat and you're over there. Okay.
Right.
Marines lead the way.
Oh, okay, right on. But you got to get there somehow.
Right. Thank you, Navy.
Oh,
Nothing to do with the Army.
Oh, we got to we also clear the way for you too.
After
so.
we took care of everybody. All
Yeah,
right.
artillery. So artillery kind of clears a little area so you guys can walk in all safely.
I appreciate all the work you've done for us. You said some of the greatest men you knew were growing up were the veterans.
Yep.
What about their example stuck with you?
So, man, just how solid they were in their foundation of who they are. The good and the bad. Because I knew they weren't perfect men, and they didn't try to be perfect men or perfect people. And I just knew that if I just kind of gleaned to the positive sides of it, I could kind of like strap that into my aviator's kit bag and kind of move forward with those positive things, keeping an eye on like some of the, maybe some of the struggles they may have had that they've shared with me, keeping those things in mind as like, like, hey, keep an eye out for these things as you get older, but definitely gleaning like the more positive aspects of who they were, for sure.
That's awesome. And you ended up in the Army with the 82nd Airborne, where you said it was high up tempo.
All the way.
How else would you describe that experience in the Army?
Oh man, fast. So I don't even know why I joined Airborne. I'm afraid of heights, so I don't even know how I got to Fort Benning, Georgia. But it was it's a thrilling experience, and even this experience right now is reminding me of jumping out of a plane, There's a whole lot of hurry up and wait when you're in the Airborne, right? Airborne unit. It's super fast when you're going, but then when it stops, it's super slow, and you're just kind of waiting. So we have to get ready and get our gear together, and then we sit on a plane for 45 minutes, an hour and a half. Some people doze off, some people wake up, but then when you start hearing that, that jump master start to give commands at the door, like everything like clicks, and even then it's kind of surreal because you're just kind of like standing there with your static line. And then it's just, when you get that green light go, you're just handing off that static line and you just got to let go, and jump out the door, That experience is like kind of synonymous right now because I was like, oh man, we got to do a podcast. This is going to be like kind of crazy. I've never done something like this before. But at this point, you just got to hand off that static line and jump.
So it's scarier, jumping out of a plane or sitting here with me?
Right now, it's kind of scary.
Okay.
Right? But it's been a while since I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane, but still.
Take me back through your first time jumping out of the airplane.
Yeah, that was it. So I just didn't know what to expect. It's a whole day thing. Like we got to get up at 0400, so 4 o'clock in the morning, and we sit there. We make sure we go through our rig. We make sure our parachutes are packed correctly. We inspect them. Whatever gear that we have to take on that op or that that training op, we kind of make sure all that's taken care of. And we kind of go through iterations of making sure our equipment is ready to go for the jump. And then we kind of find our flights and making sure that we're lined up exactly where we're supposed to be and whatever instructions that we need to get once we hit the ground. And then we wait again. And then, now it's, hey, everybody up. All right, everybody's up. Now we got to go start walking to this plane. It's like you got like 200 pounds of like gear. You're kind of waddling back and forth with your parachute on. And then you get on that plane, the propellers are super loud, it's kind of drowning out, and then the only thing you're kind of listening out for are those instructions, And like I mentioned, like, you're sitting there, you're waiting, and then finally, you're told to stand up, get a hold of your gear, one last check, and check your buddy, and that's in front of you. So there was a lot of trust that had to develop, real fast. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, those doors open up. You hear that wind just kind of, swinging past those doors. And then you're just waiting. Your heart's pounding. You don't know what to expect. You're just praying your chute opens up. You're praying if that chute doesn't open up, your spare opens up. It's just, hey, green light goes. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? There you go. And whoop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How many years were you in?
So I was in 4 years, 4 total years, yeah.
And what led you to getting out?
So what led me to get out? So the 82nd Airborne, again, has a high up tempo. So my duty station was Fort Bragg, at the time called Fort Bragg, North Carolina. But I probably spent the least amount of time there. We were everywhere. We're in Fort Polk, Louisiana, doing some training. We were up at West Point training cadets. We were actually part of Hurricane Katrina relief efforts down there. So we were part of that unit down there that was helping to recover any bodies or victims of that natural disaster. And then we deployed, and that was like basically half of my career in the military. From 06 to 08, I was in Iraq.
And so that led you to get out?
Well, yeah, because, so here's what really led me to get out. I was cool for a while, right? But once we deployed, it was supposed to be a 4-month deployment, all right? So another funny story. And it's a running joke in the military, which I didn't know at the time, but if on the menu for the DFAC for that day, or the dining facility, the cafeteria, if the menu is steak and lobster, you've got a nice little surprise coming down the chain. I didn't know that my first time. I was like, oh man, we just got off a 72-hour op. And they were like, yeah, steak and lobster. It was like, oh, great. So we're, going in. And I was a part of a unit to where we kind of skipped the lines all the time because we had some other stuff to do. And so I'm sitting there eating steak and lobster, like hype. We get back to our little fob. We had a fob within a fob. And, they set us all down. I was like, hey, we got an extension for 2 months. I was like, all right, 2 months, not that bad. And then about a month and a half later, we had steak and lobster again. And then I was like, wait a minute, and then so that happened probably about 3 more times. So a 4-month deployment turned into about 16 months. And so that's when I was like, okay, you guys are playing with me right now. When I get home, you guys are not going to be able to call me back. So yeah, I guess that was it.
Makes a lot of sense,
yeah,
right?
Now I eat steak and lobster. When we have some bad news, I'm like, hey, here you go.
So that's how you break the news.
That's how I break the news. Hey, it's some steak and lobsters.
Yeah. A lot of veterans say that the transition is its own mission.
Yeah.
How has the transition been for you?
Yes. Okay. So it's been a while since I transitioned. I got on in 2008. But what I do remember about the transition was I was nervous about what I didn't expect. Like I didn't know what to think. I just thought I was getting out. I'll get a job and everything's fine. What I didn't expect was losing. I didn't realize how much purpose I felt in the military, serving. I didn't realize that, like how much I really that experience, just instilled something of like being somebody and doing something. It was like, I didn't realize that. Yeah, the pride of being like the uniform and making sure all that stuff, like shining my boots, You
felt I felt on top of the world, right? Like I was a Marine, no one's going to touch me.
Yes,
Almost like the rules don't apply to me.
But right.
They do.
They do, absolutely. Yeah. But I just didn't realize that. I didn't prepare for that part,
For sure.
So when I first got out, my first job was I was a bellman at a hotel, and I liked the job. Like it was a great job, it was great people. I worked with some cool people. I met some interesting people. But sometimes when I kind of sat alone, I was like, dang, I went from jumping out of airplanes, shooting weapons,
on a Tuesday night.
On a Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Like by 9 o'clock, I had done more stuff than anybody, like more people in the world have done by 9 a.m. I didn't ran 5 miles. I didn't, I hit Area J. You know what I mean? I might have jumped out of plane by that time. And then it's just like, man, like I'm gonna go clock in, here in just a few minutes. It was that part was kind of jarring once it really set in, and it actually took a little bit for it to set in like that. Yeah.
How long do you say it took you to recognize that you were struggling from the transition?
I would say probably like a good 2.5, 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't hit you right away, right? I remember getting out and being told like, oh, this is going to happen to you. You're going to feel this way. And I was like, Not me.
Yeah.
I'm different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then years later, I was like, all right, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah.
That's what
exactly
led me
right.
to starting this podcast, right? Like, because what I didn't realize is on active duty, we have that group therapy every day, whether we want to recognize it or not. We're around like-minded individuals that we can joke a certain way without having to worry about offending anybody or getting checked in, to be honest.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you went from handling $1 million of equipment to parking cars. How did that impact your sense of purpose?
Yeah, it was, when I woke up one day, I was like, dang, what am I doing, And I was like, man, where am I going? It's not even like something, it's not even like my passion to do, it was just something that, like the first week I was in Arizona, and that was the first place I stopped, I had a job and I was enrolled in school. I was like, this would never happen in California. That's the only reason why I stayed here. But, just waking up and just realizing like the disparity between like the two roles that I have, one, I had to like trust the next person literally with my life, and then I'm coming to a situation to where, somebody of like, do you wrong for a pack of smokes, you know what I mean? It's like, it was such a trip to me, and that's kind of when I felt some type of way. And then the other thing was like realizing that I was a different person, from what I thought my family knew of me when I was growing up, from friends I knew at the time. I just felt different, and I felt I couldn't really go back to them, because I would be a different person, and I didn't know how they would receive me, like the things that I've been through, the things that I've seen, the things that I think of, the things that that kind of run and replay through my mind. I thought that would just be like super exposed to them all the time, and because I didn't think I had what I needed to kind of like mask that or cover it up, I kind of stayed away from them. So I isolated. Super tough.
Okay, that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna jump in the next question. I lost my train of thought. It happens, so we're just gonna roll with
Sure.
it. When it comes to handling stress, what do you lean on? Whether it's unhealthy or now your healthy version.
Okay. I think the unhealthy version was, whatever that could get my heart going, like
That adrenaline?
that adrenaline rush. That was it for me. So, and that was really a reason why I always liked motorcycles. But that was the one reason I never bought myself a motorcycle. I was like, I definitely.
Yeah.
Like even cars. I would drive them as fast as I can, try and max them out. And super dangerous. Don't try that. Don't do that. But that adrenaline rush. I couldn't get that in the civilian world from jumping out of planes. It's like exhilarating. Nowadays it's chilling, big chilling. Realizing that there's value and purpose in just relaxing sometimes. Somebody would tell me you got to go back and sharpen your knives a little bit so you can kind of get back out there and cut better. So really just taking time with my family and just relaxing and just spending time with them and just kind of soaking up some love.
How have you been able to justify or allow yourself to chill, to just relax without feeling like you have to do this or you have to be here or like, dang, they can't catch me sitting down?
Yeah, I think just being surrounded by a whole lot of support, like the community support. So, within Glowframe, within Showboss, my job, is so much support. It's like, hey, Chris, we're here for you. We got you. Whatever you need, let us know. My wife is here today helping out, so that's been a huge help. Just having that community support is just like, what? If I don't get it done, it might get done, and if it doesn't get done, so what? Nobody's really tripping like that. And just kind of being able to lean on the community that I have around me. Yeah.
And have you jumped out of a plane since?
Yes. I took my wife and jumped out of a plane a few years back for her birthday. So she'd been wanting to go for a few birthdays before I met her. She didn't have anybody to go with, and I was like, let's go. Just strap these boots up one more time. One last hoorah. It could have been our last hoorah, but we did it. Much to the chagrin of her family, her parents. So. That was the last time we jumped out of a plane. It's been a few years now.
Does that mean we'll never catch you jumping out of a plane?
I'll never say never. I don't ever write things off. But today,
we'll have to take veterans from Glowframe Initiative out there and jump out
that
of
would
planes. I've never
actually be
jumped
pretty
out of a
cool.
plane.
That would be pretty cool. You haven't jumped out of a plane?
I've never jumped out of a plane.
Oh man. Well, you don't really jump. You kind of fall.
Well, I've never fell out of a plane.
Okay,
I've only
yeah,
flown in them.
Yeah, yeah. There's no reason to. Yeah.
So you mentioned music and family.
Yeah.
Can you share a story of how music has grounded you or carried you through tough times?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's really a foundation of my life. I'm an audio engineer, so I love audio, and then I like recording music. I love that part of it. I love tracking music. The reason why, there's a couple reasons why, but one is like just that creative process, that just raw creation, just in the moment. I love that. I love like seeing how like the light bulbs start going off and like things just start connecting. That's super dope to me. The other thing is, sometimes artists don't put out music, so I get to hear the music that everybody is meant to hear. It's in some way, shape, or form or another. So the music that I record, and I'm typically very selective about the music that I work on, because I do know how much music and what you hear and what you absorb and what you bring in affects how you are and who you are. So I've been able to select my clientele is people who mostly have like positive, uplifting music, whether it's gospel or just something about love and connection and or even like overcoming. So when I'm in the studio and I'm hearing them create in the most raw shape and form, and they're creating things based off of what they've overcame or about the love they share or they feel, I really kind of connect with that, and I kind of pull that in real solid. So that's a huge grounding moment for me.
All right, this next question's a little heavy.
All right, sure.
All right. You've lost battle buddies in combat and after service. How has that shaped the way you think about life and about your own mental health?
Yeah. So yes. So I've lost buddies in service. When we were in Iraq, we've lost friends. That was heavy. That was heavy in itself. But it was like we knew where we're at and what we were doing, right? So I understood that. I can understand that. What hits more these days.
It's okay.
Yeah, man. So what hits more is I serve with some badass cats, man. Like some people that could like run through walls, And I looked up to them, and they were mentors of mine. And to find out, that they had passed for whatever reason, it's super tough, Not only losing that person, but the like why, how, like you were that guy, you were that person, I didn't understand, and I put them up there as one of those guys, and I'm like, I'm me, I didn't do half the badass shit that these cats did, and I'm like, what was it, and every now and then it kind of like that runs through my head, I think of them and just kind of, what was that, like, is that something that I could experience, or or is that something like that point, can I get there, is that possible, whereas I've never thought of it before, I never thought I could get to that point, but yeah, so that's kind of the tough part after the service.
What has that thought process encouraged you to work on yourself, or how has it encouraged you to work on yourself so you don't get to that point?
Right. So I don't know like what got them to that point, but what I'm trying to do and what I continue to do is just surround myself with people, surround myself with positivity, surround myself with individuals with goals, so I can kind of glean, oh, okay, they got something going. Let me put something on my plate, something to reach for, something to attain. So I try and make sure I have purpose, I make sure I have something that I'm reaching for, It's not hard because I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who are like go-getters, people who are like just thriving in what they're trying to create and what they're trying to attain. So that gives me a whole lot of motivation to like, man, everybody's doing it. And these are people I'm talking to, they have their own struggles, they have things that they're going through, but when it comes down to it, it's like, man, all right, we good? Yeah, all right, let's go get this thing done. Glowframe has been a huge help for that. And just like being able to mentor other individuals that's in my field, it's not, I got a couple of audio cats, it's a whole lot of video cats and photography out there, but I got my audio cats that, that ride with me on the audio side, but also, these individuals that believe in me and that support me. So Iron Daniels, he's one of the founders of Glowframe Initiative. he gives me some challenges. You know what I mean? So it's like he kind of keeps my knife sharp. And then Iron introduced me to the other founder, which is Joe Valiente, and he's given me an opportunity to kind of get out there and thrive too at Showboss AV. These founders, it just makes sense that why they came together, because they're both monoliths, in their industries, but they're also both disruptors, like major disruptors in their industry. So they do it all unorthodox. You know what I mean? They do it their own way, and that's like always that's a huge motivator for me. It's like, man, you don't have to do it, like everybody else is doing it and be successful. You can step out on your own and do it your way. So that's given me a lot of support and a lot of motivation again to like kind of help kick off. Iron gave me this opportunity to kick off this veterans initiative at Glowframe. So that's been a whole lot of work, a whole lot more work than I could have imagined. But it's fulfilling, man. Like, just getting the network that I'm growing. I didn't know there were veterans out there that were like kind of just aligned like this, and that's been really, really cool to find out. Not just veterans, but also veteran support organizations that are helping us out. So it's cool.
Are you aware that it's okay to address those feelings that you had? And
Yeah.
You let outside of this stage, like when you go home, you let that shit out. You don't keep that bottled up.
Yeah. We do a good
Don't
job.
Be lying to me.
No, I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not.
okay.
So, and what's funny is because I get that from my daughter. You know what I mean? Like my daughter, she might have a bad day, and I'm like, you know what? It's actually okay for us to just cry right now. Let's just do it. We don't have a reason. I'm trying to, hey, what do you need? You need some apple juice. You need this. She's just like, there's nothing that's going to satiate this right now. And I'm like, you know what? I might be having some of those feelings like that too. Let's do it. Let's just cry together. Can I cry with you? Yeah, let's cry.
That's amazing.
So I'm just kind of, those are things that we're kind of continuing to learn and address. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm always here if you need me. Never
I appreciate it. I'm not going to cry in front of you right now. But
Hey, I got a shoulder.
Almost there. It was like, oh. Suck those back. Yeah.
You've turned pain into purpose. Tell us about Glowframe Veteran Initiative and what you're building here.
Right on. So, man, like I said, Rock hooked me up with this, this opportunity to really stand up this veterans initiative. So when I first got out of the military, I was kind of, like I mentioned, I was a bellman, and that wasn't my purpose. That's not what I wanted to do. I was getting ready to go join the police force, and I knew that's not what I wanted to do. And I knew, my background at church. I played in church, some instruments and stuff, and I met a friend who was an audio engineer, and so he got me kind of back into like the music world. I knew that as a veteran, I had some benefits afforded to me. So, which one of them is an education benefit. So I went to try and use those education benefits, and start my career that way. So I used a little bit of my GI Bill to kind of go to audio school. Kind of exhausted that because I thought I was going to be a lawyer. So I went to law school, or I went to do some like pre-law stuff first, and so I exhausted that. So I went back around for VR&D, but they were like, the career that you want as far as an audio engineer, it's like not a sustainable career. That's what they told me, and so they denied me benefits at the time. So what I had to go do is I went to work, and I kind of just worked my way through getting a degree in audio engineering, without the help of the VA, those VA benefits. I wanted to create an easier path for veterans. If the VA wouldn't support a creative pathway for substantial gainful employment, I wanted to create that. I wanted to do that for them. Because I feel fulfilled at this point from going through that. So that's what this is doing, man. We're able to train veterans in everything from production, stagecraft. We've got veterans that have been out on some of our concerts. We've got veterans here today that's running these cameras, running these lights. And this is, I mean, it's an amazing career. It's it's also a little unorthodox. It's not the 9 to 5. You don't have to show up with a suit and tie all the time. So that really helps somebody like me who maybe sometimes have bad days. Hey, you want to hit the shoot today? No, I'm not feeling it. All right, thanks, man. I'll call you next week. And it's not where the experience I have had in a corporate job to where, why aren't you showing up to work the same way you showed up yesterday? Or the day before, because man, we kill it on a Monday and Tuesday, but maybe Wednesday we just, something came up, something, resurfaced, and it's just not there. It's like, man, Monday and Tuesday, rock star, So now I have to have this whole conversation like, hey, by the way, workplace accommodation and that kind of thing. And then immediately after that, it was, we're probably going to lighten your load a little bit. It's like, nah, it's not what I need. That's not what I want. I can do the job, and then the load got way, way light until there was no load. You know what I mean? And it was like, hey, think we're going to go in a different direction. I don't want another veteran to feel that way. I want them to have an opportunity to take control of their purpose in their career. And if it's in a creative space like this, or if it's out, running sound at a gig, or even pushing cases like 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours at night, so they can spend the rest of the day kind of kicking back in the daytime. That's what I want. I think those are good ways for veterans to kind of earn a living and have purpose in their life still.
Is that the same passion that drives you creating the space for artists and musicians as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody deserves a space to be themselves and to be creatives and to be vulnerable, and art in the creative space is the most vulnerable place you can be, so it's a real passion for me to kind of continue to do that.
Would you consider it like a form of your therapy then?
Oh, absolutely. It's a form of my therapy. It's a form of it's a form of my ministry. I'm really heavy in my faith with who I work with, like I mentioned before, like gospel artists and things like that. But even if they're not gospel artists or people that has their faith, I have those opportunities where I can share my faith, with them and kind of what has kind of helped to prepare, and that was my faith in God.
Amazing. And when you look at everything you got your hands in, service, music, mentorship, what's the common thread tying it all together for you?
The common thread for me is just love, man. Like, just you got to love what you do. You got to love who you are. And that just kind of, there's this, Rock says it all the time, it's like this law of exchange, man. You put love out there, you're going to get that love back, and every common denominator, because a creative, anybody, you have to do that from some heavy love for yourself, and my charge to most creatives is that love for yourself. I think somebody else needs to feel it. You know what I mean? Soapbox real quick. And I know we're running out of time, but soapbox real quick. With music, it's a huge thing for me. Like some creatives, they'll create their music and they'll never release it. And I have this conversation all the time with artists and creatives in general, but I work with a lot of musicians, and it's just that song or those lyrics or that chord, that melody was put on your heart based on whatever you went through or whatever you've gone through. There may be somebody else that's out there that is going through it, that's probably looking through a pathway out of what they're going through. And I feel like it's a purpose of a creative to kind of release that out and get that out there, just to help. Maybe it's one other person that might need the strength that you had to get through it, that you're now able to articulate, in a way that's palatable or receptive to other people. I think that's a huge charge for them. So that's what I get on people that I work with all the time. Release your music, get it out there.
That was amazing. Chris, brother, thank you for sharing your story and your heart with us today. For anyone who wants to support your work or stay connected, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, the best and the most blessed place is to find me. So, I mean, you'll either catch me here at Glowframe working, putting around, but you can catch us at Glowframe Online. That's the Glowframe space and the Glowframe initiative. We're out there. If you want to reach out to me, I'm online too. So at Sound Guy Grims, just hit me up.
Awesome. I want to give a special thanks to Glowframe Initiative for hosting this great event, having me here, and for everything you're doing for the veteran community. And to our listeners, this is why we're here. The JMach Podcast exists to combat veteran and first responder suicide, one story, one conversation at a time. Remember, your mental health matters, and you're not alone. Share this episode, subscribe, and leave a review, and keep this conversation going. Until next time, stay strong, stay present, and stay connected. All right, I just want to thank everyone again for coming out here. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being a guest and being vulnerable. I really appreciate it.
Man, thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing and getting the word out about preventing veteran suicide. I think that's a huge work that you're doing, so thank you very much for that.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Right on.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks.